This is why you keep losing control. Why your emotions are running your life without you knowing it. The uncomfortable truth you've been avoiding. Welcome back to the Scurv podcast. This is LANCESCURV X. And I want to talk about something that's really, really, really deep. And I think it affects a lot of us. And if it doesn't as much, and you realize this whole phenomenon, then you realize at one point you were like that. Now, I can't say how you are. I'm just saying this perspective at some point in our life kind of ruled over us, especially when we're children. Not to say there's any trauma or anything aside from that, but just the thought process and how we're trained in this society. Let's give it a shot. Let's start with something you probably won't want to hear, but you need to. You don't control your emotions. You may think you do. You may read books, save quotes, talk about emotional intelligence, and believe you're self-aware. But the truth shows up in your reactions. When someone ignores you, it feels personal. When you're challenged, it stings. When things don't go your way, your mind races, filling in the gaps with fear, ego, and old pain you didn't even know was still there. Now, what I just said was not a one-size-fits-all, but to some degree, okay? Some of us go out in the cold weather. It's the flu season. Some of us get the flu full blast. Some of us get the sniffles and fight it off. The person that caught the flu full blast, they were taking vitamin C, they were taking care of themselves, they were making sure to do everything right and eat healthy. And the one who caught the sniffles and didn't get the flu eats junk food, stays up at night, doesn't get his rest. You see what I mean? So it can fit anybody to some degree. So I'm not putting anybody down by speaking this way or speaking from a superior mindset. This is just the way I'm talking right now, just to drive the point home. So don't take it personal, because I'm not aiming this at anybody, because I don't know who's going to listen to this. Most people never notice this because they live on emotional autopilot. They react without thinking and call it being real. They confuse feeling something with understanding it. But what you feel is not always a clean response to what's happening now. You'll get me on this. More often, it's an echo from something that happened long ago. Your emotions are shaped by memories, beliefs, and wounds that were formed before you had the power to question them. You don't react to being ignored today because of today. You react because there was a time when you felt unseen and it hurt. If that's the case, if that's your thing. You freeze when criticized because somewhere in your past, approval was tied to perfection. You aren't responding to the present moment. You're reliving the past in real time, over and over again. The most dangerous part is that you don't even know it's happening. You think you're being yourself, but you're not. You're running a program that was installed years ago. Every look, every tone, every comment presses a button inside of you, and you respond automatically. Your mind then steps in and justifies it, telling you that you're right, that your feelings are valid, that your reaction makes sense. And maybe it does make sense, but that doesn't mean it's free. The enemy was never other people. It was never the situation. The real enemy is that split second between what happens and how you respond. Just really listen to what I'm saying. That invisible moment where you can choose but don't because you've never been trained to see it. That's where your freedom lives. And that's where most people remain blind. Because when you don't see that moment, life becomes repetition disguised as change. You keep ending up in the same conflicts with different faces. You keep feeling the same frustration in new situations. You keep asking why this always happens to you. And instead of looking inward, we blame the world, the people, the timing, the circumstances. This isn't about guilt. It's about awareness. It's about waking up and realizing that the chaos you experience is often created by reactions you never question. You weren't taught to observe your emotions. You were taught to act on them. You were taught that feelings were either weakness or truth. But feelings are neither. They are signals, not commands. If you can't question what you feel, then your emotions control you. And someone controlled by their emotions is never truly free. What if everything changed with a pause? Not a long retreat or a dramatic transformation, but a single conscious pause. A moment where you don't follow the old script, where you notice the impulse before it becomes action, where you stop reacting and start responding. That pause doesn't look impressive. It doesn't get applause. But it's powerful because it interrupts the cycle. It creates space between stimulus and response. And in that space, you regain control. Science supports this. Psychology confirms it. But more importantly, real people experience it when they practice it. This isn't about eliminating emotions. It's about understanding them so deeply that they stop owning you. You've learned these reactions, which means you can unlearn them. But that requires courage. Not the kind needed to confront others, but the kind needed to look at yourself honestly. Your triggers aren't the problem. Not knowing them is. As long as you avoid them, they'll keep pulling your strings. You can change cities, change jobs, change relationships and routines. But if you don't change what's inside, you'll feel the same everywhere you go. Let's go deeper. Inside you is a voice that never shuts up. It comments on everything you do. It reminds you of failures. It predicts rejection. It questions your worth. And most of the time, it does this without compassion. That voice isn't fully yours. I'm not saying you're crazy, but it was built from years of words spoken to you, experiences that shaped you, moments that embarrassed you, rejected you, or made you feel small. That voice learned fear before it learned wisdom, and it has been guiding you ever since. Every time you feel shame, it's rarely about the moment you're in. It's about something unresolved from long ago. The problem isn't the emotion. The problem is the story you attach to it. The story that says, this is who I am. This always happens to me. I'm not enough. That story becomes familiar, and familiarity feels safe, even when it hurts. That's why people cling to emotional pain, not because they enjoy it, but because it gives them identity. Silence threatens that identity. Calm feels foreign, and in silence, there's nowhere to hide. Real emotional mastery begins when you learn to think about your thoughts, when you stop being the actor trapped in the drama and become the observer watching it unfold. You notice the thought and ask where it came from. You feel the anger and ask what it's protecting. This isn't weakness, it's power. Because once you understand the meaning behind your emotions, they lose their grip. You stop reacting blindly and start choosing deliberately. But here's the hard truth. You can't change what you feel without changing how you see yourself. Who are you without your anxiety? Who are you without your defenses? Who are you when you stop reacting the way you always have? That question scares people because pain becomes part of identity. But emotional freedom isn't the absence of emotion, it's the ability to feel without being dragged. Growth requires discomfort, not punishment, but exposure. Doing the things that trigger you so your nervous system learns that discomfort is not danger. Speaking when you'd rather stay silent. Standing firm when you'd rather retreat. Staying present when everything in you wants to escape. Each time you do this, the emotion weakens. The story changes. The body learns safety in uncertainty. That's real strength. Your environment matters too. If you live in drama, your emotions will reflect it. Stability isn't selfish, it's survival. But even when you can't control the outside, you can build stability within. Simple daily practices remind you that you have a choice, even in chaos. And above all, forgive yourself. Not for what you did, but for what you felt when you didn't know better. You're not weak for reacting. You're strong for becoming aware. The chaos in your life isn't proof that the world is against you. It's proof that you've been reacting without understanding. And until you face that, nothing truly changes. The faces may change, the settings may change, but the pattern stays the same. You don't need a perfect life to find peace. You need a trained mind, one that can feel deeply without losing control, one that can pause instead of explode, one that chooses clarity over habit. This path isn't flashy, it's slow. It's uncomfortable, but it's real. And what it gives you is something no external success can offer: emotional stability. Not fake calm, but unshakable inner balance. Every conscious pause brings you closer to who you could become. Every observed reaction weakens the past. Every moment of awareness builds the future. So the question isn't whether you'll feel emotions. Of course you will. The question is whether they'll own you or whether you'll finally learn to hold them without being controlled. And I think our community needs to understand this. We're going to feel the full range of emotion in our life. We can't stop that. We're human beings. And especially us who have gone through so much. We're so used to that. And I think that others know how to push our buttons to get us in that state of mind. It may not be the present, like I said earlier. It may be all of the things that we've gone through that we think may be happening in the present, and it may not even be that. It very so well may be also, but whatever it is, we have the choice in how to deal with it. And instead of reacting, we need to pause and act. Feel the emotion. You're never going to become a robot or a machine, but we can be wise and liberate ourselves above the control that many of us don't have right now. But we're very capable to have it. We just have to be aware of it. Look, I believe our anger at this point as a people is used against us because we implode. Okay, let me come up with something. Let me think. Okay, let's say, for example, a young black man or woman is gunned down by a police officer, a white police officer. Now, for those who are not black, don't say I'm pulling the race card. I'm speaking reality about a certain thing that happens with us as a people. Maybe it happens to you in different reasons, but what I'm saying is that this is how it's used against us on a mass level. Now, of course we feel it. Of course we feel outraged. And then we look on the news. And the news, of course, puts this story out. Now, there are a lot of stories they don't talk about, but it puts it out 24/7. And then it brings up every other thing that's happened to us as a people. And so with all of this put out, if we don't know how to control our emotions, there's going to be 50, 100, 1,000 incidents with the police across the country where we may not get shot, but we'll be aggressive because of what's in our head, which is very much real. But we have the rage that's reignited within us. And our dealings with the cops that don't have to provoke at this point, we're set up to get arrested more. Why would they put this out there like that? Yes, cover the story, but there's so much. And then we protest. And some of us get hit in the head with a baton, tased, fighting, bruised up, arrested. It seems like we're falling into a trap. One thing that makes me think back, while we never saw it in person, most of us, remember Spike Lee's movie on the life of Malcolm X, and how the observers in front of that precinct, in front of the police headquarters, watched the Nation of Islam under the command of Malcolm X line up, orderly. They pivoted and turned and waited for his signal, and he had his finger up and pointed it in a certain direction. That's power. That's emotional control. They didn't protest by screaming, yelling at the police officers. That's not going to get you anywhere. That's what they want. But when they see you controlled and contained and not reacting, they see a very powerful group and or a very powerful person. Yes, they can feel anger. Do you think they were robots? No. But it was very important to see reality clearly at that point and be controlled. Now, we all are not going to have a Malcolm X in front of us directing us, but we have to have that within ourselves. Because I believe we wear ourselves down in the outside world, on the job, in the neighborhood, with fake people, with people who are confrontational to us, trying to pull or push our buttons rather, and pull our triggers. How much of our life is just reacting to the past, our past, the things that are our soft spots or unhealed wounds? And when people begin to see where those unhealed wounds are and how they can poke at it and make you feel pain in this present from the past wound that hasn't healed up yet, it's up to us to heal those wounds, and then we'll be unstoppable. We'll be unstoppable. And then we can be unstoppable collectively. With the money we have as a community, with the numbers that we have, if we control ourselves and really get analytical, let's go deeper. So much stuff is put out on social media, especially with us. So many things to grab our mentality. We gravitate toward groups that echo our own pain. Have you noticed? If you have a woman, again, we're just going deep. I'm not throwing off on anybody. I'll go down a few categories I've seen, to be fair. If you see a black woman online who complains about how no good black men are and how she's been done wrong and how we need to leave these no good black men alone, well, guess what? It's not long before she might have a huge following, because we gravitate toward those who possess the same pain. I know a woman who had one of these groups. And I know her personally. I don't mean face to face. I never met her. But early on, she's been on my show. She sells lots of books. And I remained neutral while she spoke. She wasn't super scathing on my platform, but on her own and other platforms that allow it, oh man, she goes in. But she knew that I didn't fit the mold of what she talked about, so she couldn't really go off too much. But I had observed her in her natural element, and she allowed me in her Facebook group. Not that I really wanted to be there, but after meeting her and being introduced to her, I said, okay, let me put my toe in the water and see what it's like in her world. I remained quiet. And the women that were there, they all came with their stories. And yes, there are a lot of women who were done bad. I'm not saying it's false. I'm not saying it's not valid. But the point that I want to say is that we gravitate toward those who hold the same pain. And it retards us because we just hear story after story after story, and we stay in that place. But the funny thing is, when I said something in reaction to what one of the sisters said, and it wasn't anything to go against what she said, because I knew she was wounded, and me being a black man, I knew that I really wasn't in a nice place. I was in hostile territory. So I was very polite. Now, the majority of this Facebook group at that particular time, because you know those conversations are perpetual, it's not like a live chat. It was a group room, and you wake up in the morning, you see the comments, you add it in. You might go to work and go to lunchtime and, oh, there's a few more, let me add it in. So it keeps going. So when I added a comment, it wasn't anything confrontational. I really can't recall exactly what I said, because it had to be about maybe 11 to 12 years ago. Well, anyway, they figured out that the time zone that I'm in, being the fact that I was on the East Coast at the time, and I forgot how that got out, because there are people all over from California, whatever, but they figured that it was late at night, right? They figured out this is late, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning for me. And when my comment went out there, which was very neutral, I believe it was an inquiry as to how and why this lady felt this way. Oh my God, why did I do that? They went on my Facebook page, saw that I was married, and swore up and down that I was a man in this basically woman's group, that I was looking for cookies late at night. What are you doing 3 o'clock in the morning in a woman's group? Talking to us. What do you think you're looking for? You're not gonna find it here. And I made the mistake of trying to defend myself. I said, I'm a friend of, and I'm not gonna say the name, of the owner of this group, and she invited me on in. She wasn't around to defend me. Yeah, right. We know your type. Now you want to backtrack and make it seem like you're legit, but you've been busted. And wouldn't you believe, for the next 24 hours, I didn't leave the group, I left the room. And for the next 12 or so hours, so many dozens of people were chewing me out. I couldn't believe it. But it let me know, listen, you have the same thing going on with the men. Oh, these black women ain't no good. They're no good because of their past experiences, and the same with the women. But when you hold on to this kind of pain and hold on to this kind of narrative, you might meet somebody good and never connect with them because of the state of your mind from the things that happened to you in the past, which acts like a shield from the present time and potential present beauty. A lot of us walk with past pain, and it causes us to react in a way that may not be appropriate. Or we may not see the situation for what it is. I remember there was a white man who I saw walking down the street, and he had a certain work uniform on. And I was going for the same parking spot, but he jumped in the parking spot. He jumped out of his car and gave me the finger. I eventually parked and I went into an establishment a couple of doors down from where I saw him walk in, but I didn't have to see him walk in because I saw the uniform he had on. It was the morning time and he was going to work in a fast food joint. So me now, pissed off, I took care of my business already. I went in, I saw other people that I knew that worked there, and I was like, yo, homeboy's racist. Homeboy's racist. He saw me, he got in the spot, he gave me the finger, and he gave me that racist look. And the black folks that work there, they say, you know what? We don't think he's racist. I said, what? What are you taking up for him for? They say overall, most people don't like him because he's a prick. He's like that with everybody. You know how many white people come in here and can't stand him? Because he's always got an attitude toward everybody. And the person that told me that, I respect them a lot. And I know their judgment and assessment skills are always on point. So they said, Lance, reconsider this. So you know what? I try to evaluate each situation because, see, me personally, I've been through some bad situations with racism. But now I had a new challenge from within. Is it always that? Or is it that sometimes people just may be a prick? Now, I'm not saying to excuse everybody because of that, but it's that pause, like I said earlier, that makes us or allows us to think and evaluate before we react blindly. and keep ourselves in that same place, which doesn't allow us to grow. That's a very challenging thing because it's about accountability. Situations are going to happen to you, but the bottom line is, how do you process it? How do you pause for a moment? I don't mean sit there and, take an hour. I mean, if somebody's coming to punch you in the face, I'm not going to say pause and try to reevaluate it. You know what I mean? Defend yourself, and those blows are going to come back. Right? But I think we can reduce a lot of our stresses if we take that pause. Because it's just like those who have been through some bad situations, especially in America. And now that past pain flavors every single experience that we have. And that's a heck of a burden to carry. That's all I'm saying. And I realize that more since coming out of that atmosphere where the people here, 99% of them look like me, or in that same classification. So if somebody were to flip me the finger, I can't say it's racism. I say that guy's a knucklehead, and he may not like me for some reason or whatever have you, but it's a different atmosphere. It doesn't relieve the terrible atrocities that have been done to us. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not changing that way. It's terrible, and it has affected me. But I'm trying to not let that own me. I'm trying to be victorious over that. I'm trying to clean the part of my filters that I'm responsible for. You understand? Because that mess is always going to be going on. But even still, when it goes on, as long as you don't put your hand on me, I'm not going to let you push the buttons that you know are there to get me to react a certain way, when in essence now you've controlled me. Going back to Malcolm X and the long line of NOI soldiers that he had with him. It frightened those white police officers in that police precinct headquarters, because they saw black people working in alignment with each other and each having control and a hierarchy. With that kind of control, it's literally impossible to defeat them. And they saw that. They didn't have to scream. They didn't have to march. They didn't have to protest. They showed control, and they showed that they meant business. Because if you can control yourself and not be so easily manipulated by the external stimuli, you have those who call you the N-word because they figure you're going to react, want to break bad and get up in their face. But they might be calling the N-word and they have a pistol, a gun on them, and they're setting you up to get snuffed. So they'll provoke you, knowing your reaction. I'm not saying not to say anything back. But even if you said, is that the best you can do? Are you feeling inferior? I know I intimidate you, but maybe you should work on that inferiority complex, because maybe you're reading the true history and realizing your position on this planet as the virus. I mean, there are things you can say that's more powerful than a pistol. They'll leave and go home and lay down at night and be rattled by your intelligence, your control, and how powerless they were to get a reaction out of you. Because it's assumed that you have these buttons to push. Even in a relationship, that can be toxic. Let's take a toxic relationship between a man and a woman. They love each other. It might be more need than love. Lots of times when people say, "Oh, I love you," it's really that they need them. I love you. Why are you saying that? Because if you don't tell them the truth, that you need a place to stay, you don't make enough money, so you need her with her half of the bills to keep you living at a bare minimum. But I love you. And the minute you get money or a better position, you're giving her your behind to kiss and you're gone with the next one. I'm not saying this is all black men. No, I'm just using an example. So we really have to look within ourselves and be real with ourselves. Forget this, "Oh, I'm keeping it real." You know, that performance for the outside world. This is why in my solitude, I'm going deeper and deeper and deeper in human nature and deeper in my thoughts and pulling off the veils and pulling off the surface. Let's peel it back and get down to the nitty-gritty. It's the only way that we're going to elevate ourselves. You know, we can adorn ourselves. We can get a nice haircut, get a different suit. The ladies can put a little makeup on and, you know, do the nails and all that stuff. Yes, okay, that looks nice. But what's at the core? What are we on the inside? What are the components of our emotional, mental, and spiritual makeup that we know are there, but we turn away from it and perform for the world, but don't take care of what we know that's there that needs to be gotten rid of? That's where I am right now. I dug deep and found some things. I want to get these things out of me. It's nothing super major or something I'm struggling with. You ever notice sometime you clean a room, you say, "Whew, I'm so glad I cleaned that room up," and realize that you swept a pile of dust that you didn't pick up and you forgot it. And you remind, "Oh man, I really didn't finish cleaning up the room." Or you see the table and there's a spot that you missed that had a little dust on it. Well, those are the embellishments that I want to take care of in detail, because I'm detail oriented in everything that I do. But how much is it when we get triggered? How much is it of the past and how much is it of the present? And this is how people can control you. They can figure you out. You can be someone who is in fabulous shape, very low body fat, shapely, good muscle tone, good skin tone, eating good, feeling good, energetic. But if you were a fat little kid, as a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, as an adolescent, human nature and the study of the mind tells me that even though our present manifestation may look very much perfect, and nobody's perfect, but we see ourselves as we used to be. It's a big part of our mentality. And I know this from a fact, and I learned this many years ago, indulging in the sport of competitive bodybuilding. Not to knock bodybuilders. I think now when I look back on it in the present day, although I still follow it, it's a very sick sport. The way they use substances and steroids and growth hormone and diuretics and insulin and all of this stuff. No, it's against what I believed in when I was doing it, even though I know people who have indulged, but I know they still worked hard. But some of the most insecure people that you'll find are people who are in the fitness industry or into bodybuilding. And they look fit. But many of them are running away from that person that they used to be physically. And when they look in the mirror, that's what they see. So it's easy to burst through the facade of confidence that they have on a physical level and strike their mind and psych them out. They may not show you that they're psyched out. But trust me, I've been around many years coming up, and I understand the psychology. You see a brother with well-developed arms, and you know him really good now. You're in the gym with him and say, hey man, you losing weight? He says, hey, what do you mean? Man, your arms look a little smaller than usual. Have you not been training them, or are you losing weight on purpose? But they were looking huge 3 weeks ago. And he's looking at his arms. And they may look even more developed and more well-rounded and muscular than ever before. But he sees what you put in his mind. And he's not seeing it for what it really is. And I use that as an example, but it could be anything. Any endeavor. Any category of things that we attempt to excel in. Now, if it's something academic and a person knows their stuff and they take a test in school, you can't make them forget what they know if they studied for it. But all other things, yeah. So unless we resolve that perception of who we were, but it feels like we are still there, we'll never be able to defeat those triggers that get us emotional, which is okay to be emotional, but don't let it guide your actions. Don't let it guide your actions. Because if it does, you'll be so easy to manipulate and be used because your reactions are predictable. If you pause and act, then the situation doesn't control you. And earlier on when I started talking the way when I said, and you this and you that, that's just the way I talk. And I wanted to say it that way so a person listening to this can feel it. Like, what is he talking about? Me. But if you really look deeper, like I said, more or less, some people may have had a little bit of that. Some people will get older and still have it. How many times have we gone to a family gathering? And I say family gathering because this is where people know each other, family and friends. And you have two people who are elderly or up in years. And one says something to the other from some incident from 30 or 40 years ago. And here they go starting an argument. Because they're triggered. And they held on to that pain that formed them into being that volatile individual that appears when the emotions are touched and they're triggered. Now they're out of control. I've seen more older folks out of control than younger folks. Because they felt that what they feel or their perspective is right. Sometimes it doesn't pay, or really all the time, it doesn't pay to argue with a fool. Because a person that doesn't know you both will walk up, observe it for a few moments and say, look at those two fools arguing. They won't be able to differentiate between who's the fool and who's not. So why not pause and jump into something that's never going to stop? Mastery of yourself and control while you feel the emotion leads you to a better place and guarantees victory in this life. Think about it. If we all weren't so emotional, as it's okay to feel emotions, but if we all didn't react this way when things happen, for example, in America to us as a community, and we took that energy and we stayed in control, like Malcolm X with the Nation of Islam in front of that police precinct, and we took the energy of that emotion, no matter what it was, extreme anger, extreme pain, and turn that energy into something. So instead of reacting at the moment and throwing bricks at the police station and shooting at police cars and cussing them out and giving them just as long as they don't put their hand on you, ignore them and go about your business of constructing a new world. We feel rage, but we should be motivated to take that rage and to be relentless in elevating and creating our own world that excludes that mentality, that defeats it, because we're in control. And to let them know we're in such control that if you make any wrong move toward any one of ours, we are controlled in our response. We will be justified in our response, and you will feel the consequences. I'm not going to scream and cuss and eyes bulging out and frothing at the mouth and Me? Let's get what I'm saying straight. I think like, and I have the precision of a well-trained assassin. Now somebody's gonna go, oh, he said he's an assassin. He's threatening somebody. No, I didn't say that. And don't soundbite me. But that rooftop assassin, let's use an example, who's up on the roof waiting for his target to walk by or walk in front of that window, and he has to sit there for hours. And his weapon on target in the area where the person he wants to hit is going to walk by. And when he sees this person, he doesn't get excited and blow off all of these shots. He begins to squeeze the trigger. And oftentimes when you begin to squeeze the trigger, that mark walks away from range. Now you may have to wait another 90 minutes before they're back where they should be. Relating that to myself, I'm very disciplined. I have patience. I move in a precise way, even when I've been challenged in a physical way. I'm not saying I'm some great fighter, but I tell you one thing, I have tremendous focus. And when that time comes, you're not going to see me screaming and getting loud. That does nothing for me. But I'm looking at you and I'm measuring you. And I know when you're in range. And I know my legs will put me in the perfect position. I have excellent balance from years of riding my unicycle, the one-wheel bike. So 2 legs is a snap. And when I start to throw hands, if you try to throw hands on me first, because I'll allow you to declare that you plan to do me harm. Once I see your chest muscle twitch to even move your arm, everything slows down for me. I see everything in slow motion, and I will not hesitate to hit the targets that I need to hit. We're not talking love taps here. Huh? I'm going to get you before you get me. I'm going to position myself. It's a spiritual thing when you try to lure me into a physical fight. I get high. I get zoned. Again, anybody can get beat. But the control that I have of not looking to get into a physical confrontation, the control is there when it's brought to my doorstep. And I have no problem trying to put my fist through the target, whichever target on your body I choose. We're not giving that away. And this is the kind of focus that we have to have inward. It's easy to go to a job and knock out the hours or do certain yard work. And yes, I did this in so many hours. Look, but what about controlling yourself from within? You have certain family members who know things about you, who try to trigger you off. And me, I think quick on my feet. You throw something at me, I may not react in anger, but I got a smart mouth. And now you got something in your head that I told you that you're pissed off, and the whole next day you're thinking about it, and I forgot all about the confrontation. The bottom line is when you master yourself, you can master everything around you. And there's so many different aspects of that mastery, not just this particular point that I'm speaking on. But I like to go down the list and go down with surgical precision. That's what it's going to take in this world, especially as crazy as this world is becoming. Remember, back in the day, if we had a thought, we might be able to call somebody up and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about, or this is my opinion on this particular subject. You may want to talk about politics, or may want to talk about how that pastor down the block is all fake. He ain't no good, he ain't no Christian, whatever. But now we can put it out to the universe and get countless responses. Just because a person is on the other side of the planet disagreeing with you, the energy is the same. Distance doesn't diminish energy. You love your spouse? If they're on the other side of the planet, it doesn't mean that diminishes the love. But we're in a crazy day where we have so many keyboard warriors, so many people saying things, whatever group you consider yourself to be in. There are people who don't like you because of that, but now you might see yourself in multiple categories. Isn't that something? Imagine you're in America, a very racist place. And as a black man or woman, you go to Japan. And you walk alongside a racist white person, male or female, in Japan. Now that racist person temporarily doesn't see you as the N-word. Now you're an American. We're in a different country. Where can we get some American food? Not to relieve them of what they are on the inside, but we have to see things on multiple levels to get a true evaluation of what the situation really is. You see? There was a young lady that used to do really great graphics in Orlando. And we connected online. And there are different people, male and female, that I would meet for different things. And we decided to meet and bring our laptops down to a McDonald's in downtown Orlando. And we were sharing techniques, and she was teaching me what she knew, and I was sharing what little I knew, because at that time I didn't know much. And so she said, you know, I like you. You're a real cool guy. And I said, thank you. I said, you're very pleasant also. I'm enjoying myself with you. And I meant that in a very sincere way. And she revealed to me that she wanted to hang out and do more of those sessions And I said, well, if there's any other people that want to join, we can do this. She said, fine. But I want you to know I really like you. Now, she wasn't saying that in a romantic way because she knew that I was married. But she felt my energy to be refreshing. And I noticed how at first she was very tense. But then she relaxed. Because you know I'm a comedian and I want everybody to wind down around me and feel relaxed. I didn't tell too many jokes because I didn't want to offend. You never know how you step on toes, but she saw I was relaxed. We ate a little food. We did our thing on the computers and we were there for like almost 5 hours. It got late. And then she revealed to me what her thing was. She thought all men were dogs. All men just wanted one thing. And her guard was up, especially since, and I didn't know this, it didn't matter to me, but especially since she told me that she was a lesbian. And I said, that doesn't matter. I'm not coming at you that way. And I do think you're very, very beautiful and attractive, and I'm saying that from the heart. And she said, thank you so much. I know you're not saying it for any other reason, because I peeped your style for the last few hours. I was like, wow. But she, as a lesbian, felt my energy. And it was like I was her brother. But those young ladies in that group room that had the pain of being done wrong by the so-called no good black men carried that. Didn't even give me a chance to be myself and to discover that not all men are like that. You see? And she's a lesbian, right? So it shows you. So this is why that was a lesson for me, right? And it reassured me that there are some people out there that think beyond the category that they feel that they're in. Because I saw her as a sister, like a real blood sister, like you're my sister. I'm not looking at you that way. I like you. And if I get to know you longer, I can love you. And I don't mean anything wayward, but to have a love in your heart, like I care for you. I don't know what you're doing behind closed doors. You told me, but that's not my world. So we got to defeat our old triggers, our past experiences. I'm not saying forget them. I'm not saying to not be emotional when you encounter some of the same things. But put a Band-Aid on that wound, put a bandage on that wound and let it heal. And even as it heals, some people are going to bump into you and bump into that wound or that scab where that cut was, and it's going to hurt. And your way of saying ouch is possibly to come back and attack them. Or we should pause and see if it was intentional. That's all I'm saying. I think I drilled the point home enough. And if any part of this you misunderstood, the mentality or the point or the concept of what I was trying to explain, hit me in the comment section and I'll explain it deeper. I like to explain myself when I'm sharing a certain perspective, so we're all on the same page. Because you have some people who will come around and try to cause confusion. You know, I try to dot every I and cross every T. And I always check, because just like I said, sometimes you think you have the room cleaned, but there's that pile of dust that you forgot to sweep up. Hopefully, I didn't leave any behind. And I'm enjoying this. And I want to say that I will be doing more content. I have some gentlemen coming by to continue some work tomorrow. I will be in dealing with them all the while doing the content. But when they start to banging and making noise and using drills and circular saws, I can't have that in the background. Even though my studio is soundproof, those noises you can't get away from. So I'm going to try to do something very early before the noise starts. And of course, after they retire. But I just want to thank you for working along with me, understanding what we're all about here. And I'm not trying to keep up with other people, You're not going to keep up with every news story. You're not going to keep up with every trend. It's more of a small town feel here in this platform. And of course, we want the stimulation. We want to see when breaking news happens and things happen, and we want to see the news footage. Of course. That's why you go there for that. But when you want to have something that you can listen to, we can go deep. And there's other types of content that I'm going to create. But I like this vibe here, especially in the age group that I'm in. Not just the number, but the level of maturity, which I still have the little boy in me. We all have that branch on our tree that was there from the beginning. You know, when you go back to the old neighborhood where you grew up, and there's that tree you used to climb, and it was maybe 3 branches on it. It wasn't as tall. Maybe it was like 1 story tall. The story meaning in the house. And you go back, and it's like 5 stories tall. 37 branches on the bad boy. You're like, that cannot be the tree that I used to climb when I was a kid. But when you really look at it, if those first branches weren't cut off, you can see how they grew and matured and worked along with the rest of the tree as it grew. Like, wow, that branch there is higher up now because the tree grew, but it's still there. So we still, and this is not a put down, we still have that inner child inside of us. The little boy, the little girl, we still have that branch inside of us, and realize that oftentimes that little boy or little girl inside of us will get hurt in our adult dealings when we deal with abrasive people. And that little boy, little girl may want to lash out, but you have to control it and think first, because you are older. There's nothing wrong with feeling the emotion of that inner child. And that's why healing is so very important. It's mandatory. You'll have a smoother ride through this world when you meditate, look within, tune yourself up, and sharpen your sword. But like I say every time, don't allow people to steal your peace. You do have a right to defend yourself, but don't do it in a way where it causes you to just react, not think, not pause, and have a meltdown or unravel. That is what you don't want to have happen, because that's when the other person has the victory of knowing that they controlled you. I will end on that. I love these communications. I love the comments that you all have been leaving. I'm going to try to keep up with answering them all back. Probably tomorrow while they're making noise. I have some studying to do on certain apps to be able to make my content faster and come out with more and be more personable. Because I do want that real connection. And I thank you for opening up with the words that you share. It's a human connection that we need more and more in this world, because we're losing it. And we need to make sure we maintain that. Even if I'm thousands of miles away in West Africa, up in the mountains, my heart is always with you. Know that. Thank you so much for making this journey pleasurable for me and a learning experience in our talks amongst family. I love you all. I'm on to the next one. When I wake up, LANCESCURV out. Peace.